Hey, I'm Andrew Pham, and this is my video explaining the concept of the law of diminishing returns in economics. Now, the law of diminishing returns looks at the relationship between inputs, stuff that people put in to make a product, compared to outputs, stuff that producers make, such as pizzas. Now, the few things you need to know before we go into the law of diminishing returns is I'll talk about resources. Now, there are two types of resources. There are fixed resources and variable resources. Fixed resources are resources that do not change no matter how much output you're making. Let's say you're making one pizza, you still need a pizza shop. Or let's say if you're a company, you're making one pizza, you need a pizza shop. But let's say if you're making 100 pizzas, you still need a pizza shop no matter what. The other type of resource you can look at is variable resources. Now, variable resources are resources that change depending on how much output you're making. Example of this is workers or ingredients. If you make lots of pizzas, you need a lot more workers and a lot more ingredients such as cheese, dough, meats, vegetables, all sorts of different stuff. Now, going back to the workers, once you add workers, you can make more product. This is because of an idea called specialization. Now, specialization means that once you start adding more people, then the people can start to specialize and do their own thing. This example of this is at any work. If you have work to be done and you have one person, they have to do all the work. If you have two people, then they can split the work. 3 people split the work again, and so on and so forth. Now, this idea is good and all, but eventually has to come to an end. And this is where the law of diminishing returns comes in. Now, the law of diminishing returns states that as you add variable resources to fixed resources, the additional output will eventually decrease. Now, this means that as you add more inputs, eventually you will have too many inputs and they won't be as effective as they were before. Now, you can look at this by looking at a chart. Now, on the left we have inputs, which are the workers. The middle we have number of pizzas, which is the output. And on the last column we have marginal product. Now, marginal product basically means the difference between the output from the last worker to the output of the new worker. Now, now looking at the chart, you can see the marginal product is 10 for having 2 workers. Now, that's because you go from 5 pizzas to 15 pizzas. That's a difference of 10 pizzas. Now, another way to look at this is through the 3 stages. Now, starting with the first stage, in green, you have marginal product that is increasing at an increasing rate. So it goes from nothing to 5 to 10. But then once you hit the second stage, which is in orange, you go from 10 to 5, which is less than it was before, then 5 to 2, 2 to 0. Now, the last stage is when you start hitting negative production. Now, negative production means you're producing less than if you kept at the inputs you were in before. Now, this means that you're having too many people in the kitchen, per se. So, for this example, if you have too many workers in the kitchen, then they cannot produce the same amount of pizzas they can because they don't have the room or the space. At first, adding a couple is good, but then eventually if you add too much, they won't have enough space and they will start losing output. Now, this doesn't mean that the workers are lazy or stupid, it's just that they don't have enough room to work with. Now, this can be applied in real life through stuff like a business owner. If you have a business owner, you have to find out how many people you need to hire to produce as much as you can without costing you that much. This can also be seen with if you have a yard. You can add fertilizer to your yard to make it healthier. And you add a little bit more, it starts to get a little better. But eventually you hit a maximum where your yard can't take enough, and that's when your yard starts to decrease in production. Now, this is the basic idea of the law of diminishing returns. It's one of the most important concepts in econ and is used everywhere in the class. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope it helps you.